Well, what I'm going to present very quickly, I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear, is a quick reprise of what we presented in December with a few extra bits. And I hope it'll hang together in a logical way. If it doesn't, please ask me at the end of this. So we are Streatham Action. We're working with Lambeth Council to try and bring Crossrail to Streatham. As you know, we're a bunch of amateurs. We're cross-party, and so there will be a business case, but we're very much hoping that some members of the panel will be able to improve on our business case with hard facts that we've been finding it very difficult to acquire from the Crossrail 2 team and Transport for London. So a quick recap. As Caroline and others have said, we have continually been bypassed. In fact, since 1926, there have been people trying to get the tube to come to Streatham. But as you know, there's Streatham, the black hole for transport. Nothing comes here. If only we had a black hole with a tube in it, but we don't. Okay, this is the London Overground service, which we thought, right, perhaps that'll come to us, but no. It went around Streatham. There's a great big gap in the service from Streatham. This is the Northern Line. As Caroline said, it ended up going to Battersea rather than south, where we believe it should have done. And I think this is the Bakerloo. Is that the Bakerloo? Yes, going southeast. And then, of course, Crossrail 2. Plan to go around us as well. And the other bit of Crossrail 2 down to Wimbledon. So this is where we're at with Crossrail 2 at the moment. The purple line was the proposed route via Tooting Broadway. The red lines are faults that prevented Crossrail 2 delivering on that plan to go via Tooting Broadway. And what seemed like a fairly swift decision over last summer to get round this problem was to take the line via Balham, to huge opposition, as you'll hear later on, I'm sure, from the floor. What we're proposing, we saw this as an opportunity to say, well, let's have a look at what would happen if it went to Streatham instead. What we're proposing is a line that runs around Balham, missing out Balham, through Streatham, and connects into Tooting Broadway again. So we're not saying no to Tooting Broadway. We're saying yes to Tooting Broadway. That's because we want to be able to get to St George's Hospital. At the moment, how do we get to a hospital from Streatham? There is no direct link to any hospital, not even to King's or Thomas's. And, of course, we also know that an awful lot of employees of St George's Hospital come from this area and from Thornton Heath and beyond. So Crossrail 2 have said to us, but we've already considered Streatham and we've dismissed it. So, you're on a hide into nothing. Well, this is where they considered us. This was back in 2009 to 11 on 2 proposed routes that were essentially from Victoria down to Croydon. As you can see, these routes bear no relation to the current proposition from Crossrail 2. So yes, they did look at us on those routes back in the day, but they have never done so on the current route. And also, if you look at the period at which they were assessing us, it means that the figures they were using are probably now 10 years out of date. And yes. Since that time, as members of the panel have said, our population has increased 16% in 5 years. And I'm sure David Joyce will know that at the time that this assessment was being done by Crossrail 2, the Lambeth plan indicated that Streatham's population was going to decline. So what do you think went into Crossrail 2's modelling? But it gets worse. As you can see from this chart, which is a very complicated one, but it basically is a track of station exits and entries by people, so it's a kind of train usage measure. This charts over the past 10 years what happened to Streatham station usage. As you can see, it has gone up. But at the crucial time when Crossrail 2 were doing their analysis, there's a great big downward line. So again, I ask the question, what do Crossrail 2 have in their modelling for Streatham? Even though it wasn't on this route, we suspect that they will have extrapolated these 2 trends that we now know to be in error. So what has been happening with Balham? Well, over the same period, in fact this is a shorter period, Balham's station footfall has gone up dramatically as well. Could there be a link? You'd have thought that perhaps Crossrail 2 might have investigated whether there might be. And we thought, well, that makes sense for Streatham. It probably makes the same kind of logical sense that Balham's population would have gone up too. but it hasn't. Balham's population has actually been static and actually gone down slightly over the period that Crossrail 2 have been doing their work. So that says to me, where are all these people who are crowding the Northern Line coming from? I think a lot of you guys know. You already know. But Crossrail 2 have shown no evidence of doing the work. We have asked them, and in fact, Val Shawcross has promised to get the information from the CEO of Crossrail 2, Michelle Dix, but has not been forthcoming with it. So I suspect that it's never been done. So how do we manage to get such a big population increase with such rubbish transport around here? Well, this is all down to the way that transport planning and new homes planning and infrastructure planning is currently done. I don't know if any of you are geographers or planners here, apart from the obvious David Joyce, but they use a thing called public transport access scores, PTAL scores. This is a heat map. Red is good, blue is bad. From this heat map, it tells you that actually Streatham is very well connected for transport, but actually PTAL scores only measure how close you are to an access point to public transport. There is no indication of where that transport might go, or the level of congestion, or the frequency. And there we have a problem. It looks as though we're even perhaps a little bit better connected than Balham on the current method of planning and planning for transport infrastructure. There is a new game in town I'm about to show you, but I've had to show you the key separately because I've downloaded this from the TfL website and I don't know how to amend it. I'm about to show you the new TIM system, which describes how far you can go within a certain time period. So bear in mind it's still the same, red is good, blue is bad. We'll start looking at Balham first, just to see how different it is. Now, can you see that? I can't see whether you can from here, but you can see from Balham, you can pretty much, within half an hour you can be in Victoria, sorry, within 15 minutes you can be in Victoria. Within half an hour you're pretty much in any part of central London you want to be in. And within an hour you're at Canary Wharf. And let's bear in mind that the GLA has been putting an awful lot of money into opportunity areas and new jobs up in the northeast of the city beyond this map. And we know that we've got a lot of young people and working people moving into Streatham who will probably need to travel there for their work. How's that going to happen? Slowly, indeed, with great frustration, the learning of new Streatham-based swear words. Anyway, this is the scene for Streatham on the same basis, and actually I should mention that this data is based on 2011 figures as well. I wish I could tell you it had changed. I'll come in to show you that it hasn't in a minute. This Streatham situation is that even within an hour, we're lucky to be in Victoria, Oxford Circus, or the city in an hour. If we have to travel to Canary Wharf or beyond, we're looking at an hour and a quarter plus. And this is on TfL's own data. We have produced this survey, which I hope you will all fill in, to try and get some idea of reality, because we don't know what kind of journeys you're experiencing with the disruption that's going on with Southern Railway. I know from myself it's very frustrating. So I'm sure that TfL are fully aware of this. They must be doing something about it. They've even got a projection for the future on the website. And this is the scene in 2031. Oh, no, it's not the same slide, is it? Oh, yeah. Oh. Sorry. Anyway, so why has Crossrail 2 investigated the Streatham factor on this loading of the Northern Line? Is there a correlation between the increase in station usage and population in Streatham with the Balham increases on the Northern Line? The answer to that is we don't think so. We know that thousands access the Northern Line at Tooting Bec and Balham from and via Streatham. Let's not forget that all the trains going into town through Balham in the morning come through a Streatham station. So we're talking about the hinterland of Streatham as well. It seems to me a big dereliction of duty if TfL and Crossrail 2 have not looked at this factor. You know, they're going to spend billions of taxpayers' money on this project. So what we want to do, all we're saying to Crossrail 2 is, please, if you've done it, tell us. Show us the numbers. If you haven't done it, for God's sake, do it. We want to know. We demand it, quite frankly. So just to ram it home again, Streatham Station, a 58% increase over 5 years. This is crazy, you know? We can't carry on like this. There'll be a riot, or someone will fall off the platform at Streatham Station. Okay, so let's have a look at how we meet Crossrail 2's objectives. Perhaps that's the reason they haven't considered us. Well, we already covered the fact that we believe that having a Crossrail 2 station here would reduce crowding on the Northern Line and on the Victoria Line and on the buses. We're going to have a look at how it would improve connectivity. Their other objective is economic regeneration, value for money, better transport quality, well, we'd love that, reduction of CO2 emissions, and the improvement of termini dispersal, i.e. when you get to Victoria or Waterloo, wherever you get to, there's currently a big problem. You can't get onto the tube. They're closed, so they need to do something about making sure that people don't clog the arteries at that point. So, were there a Crossrail 2 station in Streatham, this is where Lee comes in and shows you the proposed site at Morrison's and down to the junction. You can see that we have connectivity, and I'm not going to read these out, you all know, you're all commuters, but you can see that we have multiple points of connectivity, that people coming from the southwest of London could get off at Streatham and reach their destinations in the city or wherever they wanted to do without touching the Northern Line. What about economic regeneration? And this is a cunning picture of the site, which you can see looks pretty scruffy, but anyone who's been past Morrison's lately and seen how awful it looks, and look back at the scruffy, I'm sorry to say, Lambeth Council offices behind it, you know there's a massive potential there. Streatham is more deprived than Balham and any of the other proposed stations on the route south from Clapham Junction. Bar none, it is the most deprived area. It's got more new homes potential as well, as David has pointed out. And also those homes are going to be cheaper than anywhere else south of Clapham Junction. Balham average price, £750,000. Wimbledon, £737,000. Clapham Junction, £657,000. Tooting, £586,000. Streatham, £456,000. And that's from Wright Move, just as a quick look before I came to this meeting. I'm sure others could come up with better statistics. So we have the potential for more affordable homes than anywhere else on the proposed route. We know from conversations we've had with Savills that they consider the area to be underperforming due to poor transport. We have this fantastic made-for-a-station site at Streatham. We'd love it, you know, it could be beautiful. And in fact, Lambeth Council, the Lambeth Plan says that you can go up to 6 stories there without too much trouble, so there shouldn't be too much difficulty in finding a developer who might want to make something fantastic happen there. And also where we're suggesting the site would be is on the borders of the most deprived areas of Tooting and Merton as well. So down Mitcham Lane, and down by the Lonesome area. Anyway, you know where I mean. There'd also be fantastic impact on the A23. Congestion would be relieved. It would relieve the pinch point at St Leonard's Junction, which is the responsibility of TfL. This is the whole of the A23, so they should be pleased with that. We know that 45% of passengers arriving at Brixton arrive by bus, so it would relieve all of that as well. Reduce the lethal A23 accident rate just by reducing the traffic. And I think something like 41 people have been killed or seriously injured over 5 years, the past 5 years on the A23 in Streatham. I might be wrong, I've got that number in my head. So we also know that the A23 in Streatham breaks EU regulations, such as they are for us these days, on a regular basis. So we're looking for a reduction in pollution and damage to health, but most of all, we want improved journey times from Streatham. Why are we taking an hour and a quarter to get to our jobs when this line's being built to improve the length of journey from people who are already getting in 20 minutes from southwest London, so southwest of London. So, Streatham delivers Crossrail 2 objectives: reducing crowding, great connectivity, regeneration, value for money, reduce CO2, and of course, where people want to go is not the station termini. Crossrail 2 would take us into town where we want to go, where our jobs are. So it would improve termini dispersal as well. Is there an alternative? Well, we've been to meet with a lot of quite senior, we've been given great access to Crossrail 2 officials and Network Rail officials, but they keep coming back to this promise of turning South London orange. I expect some of you know what that is. It's the plan for rail devolution that was launched by the Centre for London in January this year. It proposes that TfL takes control of the suburban train services in South London to do what they did to the London Overground, or make it the London Overground from North London model. And it's step one in dealing with the doubling. So, you know, if you think it's bad now, they're predicting a doubling of train usage by 2050. And they reckon that technological improvements like bigger trains and bigger doors and guards ushering you on and off the trains and longer stations, etc., would allow a doubling of the number of trains in South London. And most tantalisingly for us, and we got very excited, they promised a virtual tube for Streatham. So we didn't have much detail on it, but this is what we've managed to find out. The Streatham Virtual Tube, it proposes a Streatham interchange, pretty much where we're reckoning our station should end up, which is the convergence of all those lines going in different directions. And what they plan to do is build a tunnel between Streatham Common and Streatham Hill via Streatham. So basically, the services that we now get will go to more of the stations. So it'll be a slightly longer journey time, but it would mean that Streatham Town Centre has access to Victoria and the West End, and it would give that station a frequency of 2 to 3 minutes in peak periods. So it would be a tube-like service. I mean, advisors have said to us that it probably still wouldn't be enough to cope. So it could probably cope with Streatham, but not the hinterland. But it would be fantastic, wouldn't it? However, there are problems. First of all, it would increase pressure at rail termini, because obviously all these people are going to get off at the termini. We'd have to wait the longest because our franchise isn't due to expire until 2021, so we wouldn't see anything till years after Crossrail 2. And also, the announcement of the Turning South London Orange plan was merely the announcement about a consultation about an idea. It's not a commitment, there's no money. So it's a long way off. So as far as we're concerned, a Crossrail 2 station is the only realistic solution. Plus, of course, it would provide the keystone for any future London Overground service. So here we have it. Streatham, we believe, has never been assessed on this current route, and we want it to be. We've had unpredicted massive population growth and future projection of population growth since TfL did the numbers. We think their model's probably in error and predicting the opposite. There's been a huge surge in Streatham railway usage, as we've heard now several times, and there's no other project in sight for us. We have got to get angry, and we have got to compel the mayor to look at this case. Thank you very much. I'm now going to hand over to Lee, who's going to explain the next part of this meeting.